Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Jaya Kodanitai, Maya Poshashi, Kodanitai, Maya Poshashi. Jaya Kodanitai, Maya Poshashi, Kodanitai, Maya Poshashi. Maya Poshashi, Kodanitai, Jaya Maya Poshashi. Eskamurunda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shishikonitai Maya Poshashi ki jai. Reading from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Prabhupada. We're in a new chapter now, aren't we? Chapter 5, the purity of devotional service. Thus a Vaishnava automatically becomes a Brahmin. This idea is also supported by Sanatana Goswami in his book, Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is the Vaishnava Guide. Therein he has clearly stated that any person who is properly initiated into the Vaishnava cult certainly becomes a Brahmin, as much as the metal known as Kamsa, bell metal, is turned into gold by the mixture of mercury. So the Kamsas can be changed. A bona fide spiritual master, under the guidance of authorities, can turn anyone to the Vaishnava cult, so that naturally he may come to the topmost position of a Brahmin. Srila Goswami warns, however, that if a person is properly initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, he should not think that simply by the acceptance of such initiation, his business is then finished. So you've got finished and you've got initiated. So initiated is to start and finished is the opposite. One still has to follow the rules and regulations very carefully. So if someone wants to be Raganuga Bhakta, we're spontaneous, you have to follow just like a Vaidya Bhakta. Vaidya is that you have to do everything, all the different rules and regulations. You have to be up at this time, you have to follow these rules, you have to attend this, you have to be there for that. That's Vaidya Bhakti. And then if you become Raganuga, then you become spontaneous, then you're meditating on a Brajbasi that inspires you. But automatically you can do all the Vaidya. No one would know that you are Raganuga externally, because you'd be doing everything so strictly. So you still have to follow the rules and the regulations very carefully. If after accepting the spiritual master and being initiated, one does not follow the rules and regulations of devotional service, then he is again fallen. And Bhaktisiddhanta, he initiated some devotees and two of them left straight away. And they said to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Guru Maharaj, two of your disciples have left. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur turned around and said, they were never my disciples. One must be very vigilant to remember that he is the part and parcel of the transcendental body of Krishna, and that is his duty as part and parcel to give service to the whole, or Krishna. If we do not render service to Krishna, then again we fall down. In other words, simply becoming initiated does not elevate one to the position of a high-class Brahmin. One also has to discharge the duties and follow the regulative principles very rigidly. Rigid. What is the definition of rigid? Anyone got any explanation for rigid? When you say something is rigid, which can't be moved, unmovable. unbending, without deviation, strict, unwavering. Let's see. Shri Guru Vacha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So here's the definition from the Oxford Dictionary. Unable to bend or be forced out of shape, not flexible. Stiff, hard, firm, inflexible, unbending, unyielding, inelastic, taut, tight, impliable, unmalleable. Not able to be changed or adapted. Fixed, set, firm. Cast iron, hard and fast. Wow. A lot in rigidly follow. So it may be that you go into some elevated state of consciousness, but even to achieve that state of elevated consciousness, you'd first of all have to come from the platform of Nishtha, which is rigid. Nishtha doesn't fall. First of all, you have the bodily Nishtha. He's there at the right time, at the right place, doing the right thing. Then it goes verbal, saying the right thing at the right time in the right place. And then eventually, at topmost Nishtha, he thinks the right thing at the right time. He's thinking the right thing all the time. So then you know your Nishtha. And then you can look at Asakti, and Bhav, and Prema. How long does it take to get from beginning, being initiated, to the stage of Nishtha? 75% of the unwanted things have to be removed. And of course, the problem with the unwanted things is they may not be unwanted. And then when the unwanted things are got rid of, then we can start looking at the things that we do want. But you have to make a bit of room first in the heart. Push out the unwanted, then you can start bringing in the wanted. So we're reading from the Bhagavatam. It's the 7th canto. It's chapter 7, what Prahlad learned in the womb. And it's text 50. Devo Suro Manusho Va Devo Suro Manusho Va Yaksho Gandhava Eva Va Yaksho Gandhava Eva Va Bhajan Mukunda Charanam Bhajan Mukunda Charanam Swastiman Shad Yata Vayam Swastiman Shad Yata Vayam Devo Suro Manusho Va Yaksha Gandhava Eva Va Bhajan Mukunda Charanam Swastiman Shad Yata Vayam Devo Suro Manusho Va Yaksha Gandhava Eva Va Bhajan Mukunda Charana Swastiman Shad Yata Vayam. Bolo Shova Yaksha Gandhava Eva Va Bhajan Mukunda Charanam Suduro Mungshova Yakshagandha Vareva Chalanam Swastiman Shadyata Vayam Yakshagandha Varevava Mukunda Charanam Swastiman Shadyatavaya Deva Suryam Shinova Bhajan Mukunda Charanam Swastiman Shadyatavaya Deva Suramanu Shova. Deva, a demigod, Asura, a demon, Manusha, a human being, Va, or Yaksha, a Yaksha, a member of a demoniac species, Gandhava, a Gandhava, Eva, indeed, Va, or Bhajan, rendering service, Mukunda Charanam, to the lotus feet of Mukunda, Lord Krishna, who can give liberation. Swastiman, full of all auspiciousness. Shat becomes Yata, just as Vayam, we, Prahlad Maharaj. Translation. If a demigod, demon, human being, Yaksha, Gandharva, or anyone within this universe renders service to the lotus feet of Mukunda, who can deliver liberation, he is actually situated in the most auspicious condition of life. Exactly like us, the Mahajans headed by Prahlad Maharaj. Responsibly, please. If a demigod, demon, human being, Yaksha, Gandharva, or anyone within this universe renders service to the lotus feet of Mukunda, who can deliver liberation, he is actually situated in the most auspicious condition of life. Exactly like us, the Mahajans headed by Prahlad Maharaj. Who's speaking? Who? Prahlad? Yeah, that's right. Put by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prahlad Maharaj, by his living example, requested his friends to engage in devotional service, whether in demigod society, Asura society, human society, or Gandharva society. Every living entity should take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda and thus become perfect in good fortune. Om Jnana Timiranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chaksharan Manitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyacha Panitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So if anyone renders service to Mukunda, he is situated in the most auspicious of life, like us. And then Prabhupada saying that Prahlad Maharaj requested his friends to engage in devotional service. So there's a lot there to get unpacked. So it's quite so Prahlad Maharaj was able to convince his schoolmates. They were from a demoniac society, but Prahlad was so powerful and his faith was so deep that he could affect their hearts. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that if you're a Kanishta Adhikari, you can give a person a little bit of Shraddha, a little bit of faith, to maybe think, well, maybe there's something in this, And if you're a Majjhima Adhikari, then you can give a person some taste. If you're leading a kirtan and the person's engaged in the kirtan, he experiences some taste for the holy name. And then if you're an Uttama Adhikari, then you can give that person prema. So it looks like Prahlad Maharaj was very elevated because he could have such an effect. And he's referring to himself. He's saying, like us. So it's like he's saying, devotional service will make you really happy, just like I am. So if you're not really happy, then you can't really preach. Because if you do preach, you'll put people off. People will think, well, if this is what it does for you, unless you're very happy and very enlivened and you're fearless. Of course, to get from the stage of not being qualified to preach to the stage to preach, then you have to preach because it's the quickest way. Because first of all, you find out that you're not as elevated as you thought you were. So that's okay. That's fine. We need to do that. We need to address that. We need to see that. But then, okay, that's fine. Now we want to move on from there. We don't dwell on that. Yet I'm maybe further back than I thought I was, but that's okay. I still need to go that direction. I still need to keep heading toward Krishna. The fact that I've realized now that I'm a bit further away than I thought I was just means I have to run faster. I have to become more enthusiastic. When we're asked to be enthusiastic, that means be happy. Because you can't be miserable and enthusiastic. You ever seen anybody enthusiastic who's miserable? And if a person's miserable, do you ever see a miserable person being enthusiastic? It's not usually possible, right? So they say that if you can spot it, it means you've got it. So if you get upset about somebody else, although it may be the other person that's really annoying you. Like one time I was in Mangalati and somebody was leading, and they weren't singing in key, and they weren't quite singing the proper melody. And first of all, I was getting a little bit disturbed, and then I was thinking, well, nobody else is bothered. They're all still Mangalati and they're all singing, and no one else is bothered. I'm the only one that seems to be bothered. So then I was thinking, okay, he's not singing so well, but the problem isn't that. The problem is I have a need. And because of that need not being fulfilled, it's creating these feelings. And then I'm blaming that person on those feelings. So when we have feelings which are upsetting or disturbing, don't blame anybody else but yourself. Just look at yourself a bit more closely. Why are you so upset? Who do you think you are? That was the first thing I thought. Who do I think I am? I'm demanding that everyone sing to this standard. I can't even sing very well myself. And definitely in the beginning, I couldn't sing at all. So suddenly I'm on my high horse. Maybe I should think, well, maybe they're a work in progress like I am. And if there's something there that is going to hinder their advancement in devotional service, then can I assist? Can I give them some advice, or can I give somebody else some advice that can maybe give him some feedback? Not Facebook, feedback. We don't want Facebook. We want feedback. And so the art of Krishna consciousness is, how can you navigate yourself through the spectrum of devotees, Kanishta, Majjhima, Uttama, and remain respectful to all of them, and in that way travel through to Krishna's lotus feet unscathed. And you will be scathed if you in any way are disrespectful to the Kanishta, to the Majjhima, or the Uttama. In fact, even if you're disrespectful to another living entity, that will scathe your devotional service to some degree or another. So when Prabhupada said, show your love by cooperating, proactively show your love by appreciating. It's much easier to cooperate with somebody that you appreciate. It's very hard to cooperate with somebody that you criticize. It makes it very difficult. So although you're criticizing the person, it's you that suffers, because then you can't work with that person. So you have to learn the art of spiritual kung fu, that you take something and you turn it around. If you can spot it, it means you've got it. So if you're very upset about something, then look a little bit closer. Why are you so upset about that? Like if a person's fasting when everybody else is eating on Ekadashi, and it's really upsetting you, and you're thinking they're just like hogs. They're eating so much. They're eating so much. And I'm so renounced. Radhanath Maharaj was saying, your body is fasting, but your false ego is feasting. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So, we see in the previous chapters that Prahlad is devotee of Narayana or Lord Vishnu, but here he says, render service to the lotus feet of Mukunda. Is that Mukunda name for Krishna, not Narayana?
Yeah, Krishna has many names and many aspects, many different qualities. So sometimes a devotee will glorify Krishna using a particular name. Like we say Vishnu, Vrindai Tulasideva Priya Kesavacha Vishnu Bhakti Padideva. We don't say Krishna. The reason we say Vishnu is the same as Vikriditam Rajavadabe Idam Cha Vishnu. The Vikriditam Rajavadabe Idam Cha Vishnu is saying that you should follow, you should hear with faith, either hear or describe the Vikriditam Rajavadabeya. Rajavadabeya is the young damsels of Braj. But then it's using the word Vishnu rather than Krishna. So why use Vishnu? It's a very intimate glimpse into what's going on. Vikriditam Rajavadabe Idam Cha Vishnu Shradan Vitan Vishnu Ata Vanayadya Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhya Kaman Hidragam Ajvapahina Noti Chaneva. Or something like that. But it's very intimate, saying that you will achieve pure devotional service if you just hear or describe. But then instead of saying Krishna, it's saying Vishnu. And we're bowing down to Brinda Devi. I mean, Brinda Devi's got nothing to do with Vishnu. She's taking you. You cannot go back into the spiritual world unless Brinda Devi lets you in. And then she arranges the paraphernalia in the service. Okay, Radha and Krishna in this mood today. Everyone purple, sing in this rag. We want this fragrance. Krishna Malati flower, get that in the water. We need this oil. You do this, you sing that, you go there, you dance like this. This is all Brinda Devi. You can't just wander into the spiritual world and when's the feast? Are we going to do some service? Everyone's under somebody. Every Saki, she has her manjaris. Then they have their group, and they all do different things according to assist. And Krishna wants to go in this kunj today and be there with us, and they're all assisting like that. So why Vishnu? And such an intimate. Why do we say Vishnu? Why don't we just say? Don't we make more advancement if we say Krishna?
If I knew, I wouldn't be. You enlighten us, Prabhu.
So I'm asking the question, and you can try and understand. Why did Srila Prabhupada have us sing these prayers and he didn't change it to Krishna? He didn't say International Society of Vishnu Consciousness. He said Krishna Consciousness. So why is it saying Vishnu? It's like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he changed the word mukti to bhakti because he didn't like it. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, mukti also is referring to mukunda. Muk is to elevate, and ku is the lowest, so it's taking you from the lowest, not mukunda. It takes you. So why use mukunda? Why not say Krishna? Why use Vishnu? Why not say Krishna? Why not everything Krishna, Krishna, Krishna? Come on.
If Krishna is used, then it's more of an intimate personal relationship. If Vishnu is used, then it's about the wider universal concepts. I'm not necessarily sure what Mukunda refers to, but like different aspects of Krishna, then the different names are used.
Yeah. Still, we can do some research on that to find out more, because it's an interesting subject. But yeah, I would go along with that for my tuppence worth. That Vishnu is the aspect of awe and reverence. They say that before you can give up awe and reverence, you have to get it. Then once you've got awe and reverence, you can think about giving it up. If you're trying to give up awe and reverence before you've got it, that sounds like a cheap water down there. Kali Yuga by default, we will just try and find the easiest way. Shiva Ramanuja has just been, I just read his offering on his Vyasa Puja book, and his offering to Srila Prabhupada was, he'd had some exchange with a Gurukul teacher, and she turned around and said, Her anxiety is that she doesn't want to see the mission of Srila Prabhupada spoiled. She doesn't want to see it lost. And he said that struck him to the core. And in Srila Bhakti Chintamani, Sri Brahman Maharaj lists a series of things that he sees happening now that never happened in Prabhupada's time. Devotees going to watch films, devotees not wearing dhotis when they go to places, ladies not braiding their hair. There was a whole list of things. So you can have a look at Srila Bhakti Chintamani. So the anxiety of disciples of Srila Prabhupada is they see the new generations coming in and they see things getting lost, the lack of emphasis on book distribution, the lack of emphasis on austerity, on simplicity. Everything becomes facility orientated. And then Tarangaranjani, you're delighting in the facilities that the devotional service brings, but that will make your devotional service unsteady, because when those facilities aren't there, then you won't want to do it. Oh, it's raining. Oh, there's a hole in my shop. Oh, I felt a slight headache. Oh, I just coughed. I'm going to have to take half an hour's rest. I didn't like the way he looked at me. There was too much salt in the subji. That's conditional devotional service. Everything's fine if everything's fine, but everything's not fine if everything's not fine. That's reactional devotional service. Proactive is that you have your principles, and irrespective of the environment, you will exert those principles. You'll be respectful, you'll be humble, you'll be appreciative, you'll be grateful, whether or not this happens or that happens. If it's based upon how everybody else complies with what you want, then you're in a very precarious situation, because you can't control that. Only Krishna can control that. You don't have control over that. And it's very, very tough trying to change somebody else. I mean, how tough is it to change yourself? Well, multiply that by 1,000, and that's how tough it is to change somebody else. So don't worry about anybody else. You just change yourself. You know, if you're upset with somebody and somebody's disturbing you, you can go and try and change that person. Hey, don't speak like that. Don't shut the door so loud. What are you doing looking at that? Why did you do it like this? What are you doing putting your... Why did you... And then you got to do it with the next person, and then with the next. Better to just work on yourself. We haven't got much time left, Kali Yuga. We spend half the time sleeping, first 10 years dribbling, the next 10 years walking around in a Zimmer frame. You got 30 years in between, and then that you spend half the time stuffing Prashadaman. You haven't got a lot of time left, really. So whatever time you've got left, work on yourself. And you have to change yourself. You have to look at what it is you should be and what it is you are right now. Instead of Facebook, let's get some feedback. Okay, well, how do you think I'm doing? I seem to be finding it really tough. Any tips? What do you think I'm doing wrong? Should be, really, shouldn't it? And we're all on the same team after all, you know. We're all playing against the same opponent. We should be really helping each other. We should be looking for feedback. Oh, I'm not asking him. He'll just tell me to work really hard. And him, oh, he's a fanatic. Don't ask him. We can ask him. He's nice. He's really easygoing. He'll probably say what I'm doing is fine. That's called cherry picking. We just take what we want from who we want. And if we don't like something, well, that's a bit sour. You can have that one back. You can't cherry pick feedback. Feedback is just honest feedback, you know. It's like having a mirror and you don't like the size of your nose. So you paint a big white patch in the middle of the nose. And you look at it, oh, that's much better, yeah. Can't see my nose now. But you're not getting the full picture. If you want feedback, you've got to get the whole thing. Oh my God, look at the size of my nose. Oh my God, am I really that arrogant? Is my japa really that bad? Oh, wow. But that's okay. That's not a disqualification. The qualification is faith. And nobody can take our faith away, despite how disqualified we are. And Lord Chaitanya came for the most fallen first. So if it turns out that you are the most fallen, then that's great. You're top of the list. You're going to get the mercy before anybody else. So what's the problem? Any other questions or comments? Jayananda's got a question, I can tell. So Prabhupada says, you're showing your love for me by how you cooperate. So you may say, oh, I love Prabhupada, but can't stand these devotees. But if you love Prabhupada, then you're learning to cooperate. You can't say in the same breath, I love Prabhupada, but I'm not going to work with this one, I'm not going to work with that one. It doesn't mean anything. As far as Prabhupada's concerned, anyway, that's the standard he set for if you want to step forward and say, Jai Prabhupada, well, back it up with cooperation. If you're not going to cooperate, then forget your Jai Prabhupada. It doesn't mean anything. You can get a pirate to say, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada.
Any tips to cultivate tolerance within oneself when faced with fellow devotees who perhaps irritate you and disturb you?
Yeah. Well, the first step is you make excuses for them. So if somebody's doing something which isn't ideal, then you try and make excuses for them to compensate. He probably had a rough night. He's probably, I don't know, maybe someone else has come up some unwanted thing in his heart, And so you try and make excuses for people. He's very young. He's very immature. He probably got dropped on the head when he was a kid. Or whatever, You try and make excuses for the person. If you do that, you won't come off the worse for it, because it'll protect your enthusiasm. It won't protect your false ego, but protecting your false ego doesn't make you enthusiastic. It's funny, isn't it? You'd think it would do. You'd think, well, when my false ego gets taken away from me, I'll have no esteem and I'll be so down on myself and I'll feel so useless. But actually, that's just the trick of Maya. When your false ego gets removed, then you become enthusiastic. Funny how it works. It's kind of counterintuitive. Krishna consciousness is counterintuitive. It's like when you're shaving up. If you ever shave up in the mirror, if you use a mirror to shave up, you have to go the opposite way that you'd think when you're looking in the mirror, because it's a reflection. So it's kind of counterintuitive. So Krishna consciousness is kind of, I feel like doing that, which probably means I should actually do that. So you have to process are there because of your needs. So you may have to, because of that, you need to show respect. You're getting these feelings, anger and resentment and bitterness and hatred. They're coming up. Those feelings are coming up because they're being respected. And if you can look directly at the need and think, oh, goodness, I've got this need to be respected. Oh, that's not to be this. Why? Strong, intense desire, showing respect. That's the problem that, I have to deal with that. Because that will ruin everything else. If you have that, you will only have good relationships with those that respect you. Well, that's going to be a struggle in Kali Yuga. Because there's not a lot of respect flying around out there, And those that do have respect usually get respect for the wrong things. Haribol.
How can we build a good relationship with somebody if they don't respect us? Not that one should expect respect, but how can we build a relationship with someone who doesn't show us respect?
You have to stay distant from that person. That's what Rupa Goswami is saying. Krishna, because if you're respectful in the mind, even though the person's off the wall, then that doesn't affect you. You safeguard yourself getting involved. And distance, stay distant, stay a healthy distance. Oh, Jai Prabhu. You don't want to get too into it with them, It's going to dampen your enthusiasm. And your enthusiasm to practice devotional service is your most valuable commodity that you have at your disposal. It needs to be safeguarded at all costs. You can't have somebody trampling around inside your heart, stamping out whatever tiny spark of enthusiasm you've got for practicing Krishna consciousness. It's just way. Because once that spark goes out and you lose your enthusiasm, everything goes down. Everything else, your practice, your application, your remembrance, your positivity, your vibrancy, all gone. So, but the devotee that's fully devoted, he's initiated and he's engaged in worshipping the deity, then it can be formal respect. You bow down to that person, you offer him a seat, but you still may not Guyamakati Prichati, you still may not open the innermost. For that one, you have to find someone who's devoid of the propensity to criticize. someone that's a well-wisher, well-intentioned. I mean, he may criticize you, but it won't be a put down. It'll be like Krishna saying to Arjuna, come on, you're better than this. How have these impurities come upon you? You know, Arjuna doesn't get made to feel like a weakling, or he's been told he's mighty armed. He's been told he can do this. In that way, he's being chastised by Krishna, but in an encouraging way. So that's the type of association we want. Those devotees that will edify us. And it may be a bit annoying, the same, but that's messy. Why did you leave it like that? You know, and we're like, I don't want to hear that. I want to be around people that don't mind me being like this. But we have to push aside our needs and see which are causing our feelings, and see what my real need is. I want to make spiritual advancement. And if I hang out with this devotee, he's going to get me to work harder. He's going to get me to follow more strictly. And that's going to be good for my Krishna consciousness. So if somebody, if you don't have such a good interaction with somebody, maybe it's a chemical imbalance or whatever it is, then stay a little distant. But still be respectful. Even if it's just because you're totally selfish, that this disrespect will destroy your own enthusiasm, so you don't want to do that. And we get a chance every day to just go up to a devotee and say, accept my humble obeisances, forgive my offenses. To wipe the slate clean again, you know. And you will find in a society where you have such a spectrum of different levels of devotees, that some devotees will flock together that have a particular inclination because of the way that the condition that they've come from, you know, and others will flock together. So that is a challenge. When I was, before I came, I was in a bigger temple, and there was a lot of flocking together going on. And, you know, the Sankirtan devotees didn't associate with the ones that cleaned the floor, because they were like, and then the Sankirtan, there was the ones that did straight books, and the ones that did a lot on books. So there was all these like different kind of elitism going on, you know, a pecking order going on. So that's there, unfortunately, because Kanishta, they're kind of mundane the way they take up Krishna consciousness. It's quite conditional, and then pushing through to the Madhyamas are always busy preaching, and they let Madhyamas know how to associate properly. They know who the devotee is, the non-devotee, the envious, and they deal with them accordingly. You know? That's why it's interesting. Rupa Goswami is not just saying, just treat everyone like an Uttama Adhikari. He's saying, see, this one is a Kanishta, see, this one is a Madhyama, see, this one is an Uttama. It's not offensive to discriminate. Otherwise, you wouldn't know how to choose a bona fide spiritual master unless you did discriminate. You have to be able to do that. Not in a disrespectful way, but just, okay, this is the way this devotee behaves, so this is obviously where he's at. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. There was this story of Srila Rupa Goswami that once he was in meditation and he was laughing in his meditation because he was remembering the pastimes of Radha Krishna. And there was this Vaishnava passes by and he was like little bit disabled. So he saw Rupa Goswami laughing and he took offense, and Rupa Goswami's meditation broke at that same moment. So we have seen that we sometimes make offenses knowingly or unknowingly, and like me being a new devotee, I probably have make lots of such offenses. So how do I, now work on that, and how do I get through that?
Well, you have an offensometer on the side of your head, and the offensometer, when you make offense, the enthusiasm goes down, and the taste goes down, and the material desires go up. That's your offensometer. So Rupa Goswami knew straight away, because his meditation broke. So he knew he'd done something wrong. He knew that straight away. So then he had to try and find out. So he asked Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami said, just invite everybody for a feast. And the one that doesn't turn up for the feast, he'll be the one that you've offended. And that's how he found out it was. And then he went over and he says, I'm really sorry, I was laughing for some other reason. And you took it that way. Please, I didn't mean it like that. You know? And then the devotee was happy because it was rectified. So that means everybody has to start inviting everyone for feasts. and we'll have a feast every day. You'll have to simultaneously provide the Lakshmi for it and the cooks. And then whoever doesn't turn up for your feast, you'll know, okay, I must have really miffed him. I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, well, that may well be that you are experiencing some reaction because you are creating a disturbance to others. And you may not even know it, you know. Or you may know it and you may think it's funny. You may enjoy disturbing others. Well, what's your problem? You're too attached, you know. I can also be there as well. So you'd have to be open to the feedback, because that's what Rupa Goswami was. He knew there was something had gone wrong. So if you find that's what's interesting about Sankirtan is you can think you're doing fine, and then you go out there on Sankirtan. Excuse me. Then you realize, oh, I'm not that fired up as I thought I was. I must have done something wrong. Then you go back, you reflect back. How did I go in the morning program this morning? Oh, that's right. I spent half the time sleeping in Japa. I pushed that to wait out the Prashadam queue so I could get in there. And then it all starts coming back to you. Oh, wow. So that's why I'm finding it tough. Whereas if you didn't go out in Sankirtan, it's like an acid test. If you don't go out in Sankirtan, you can kind of convince yourself you're fine and things are okay, you know. That's where I've experienced that. Of course, it's also the same with Pujari, because the Pujari has to be there at that time. And managing as well is very difficult, trying to think of so many things. Managing is the hardest because you don't get any recognition for managing. And if you're the type of person that naturally takes the initiative, then you're a natural manager. But the challenge is, can the manager learn how to associate with the devotees in the right way so that he doesn't become upset when he's trying to manage something and it doesn't go the way he was planning it, you know? He doesn't get biffed with the devotees. That's a real challenge. Prabhupada said that higher than Sankirtan is managing Sankirtan. That's the highest. But then he also said that Pujari was the highest because Sankirtan devotee has to go to a planet where Krishna's performing his pastimes and then go back to Godhead. Pujari doesn't. He just goes straight back because he's already learned how to associate with Krishna. Save yourself a lifetime. You become Pujari. Get there quicker. Or do both. Do Sankirtan and be a Pujari. So yeah, that's the acid test. And even you've been doing it for years, you never quite know what's going to happen when you go out, because you can go up to somebody and say, "Excuse me, I'm a GBC, and take this book and give me £10." And like, you're nothing to that person. They don't know that you're in charge of this, or that you do this, or that you've been given this recognition. You're just a nobody and a nothing. Everyone's a great leveler. Everyone goes out with an empty bag in terms of Lakshmi and a full bag of books. And you go up to complete strangers that don't know you from Adam, and they will react according to how you approach. So they're your mirror. Because devotees will be nice, but when you go up to people, they'll just treat you how you treat them, how they see you, how you come off, you know. Arrogant, lazy, miserable, intimidating, critical. They'll react according to that. Isn't that right, Kartika? What's right?
We go on streets. Books.
Oh.
And then how we interact with people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Other question? Yes, Amrita Gopal Prabhu.
I heard once that Shivaram Swami was out on book distribution and he approached someone, started talking to them, and they said, "Why is it, the leaders send people like you out on the street doing all the hard work while they're sitting back in the office enjoying themselves in the warmth?" So like you say, you just don't know. It doesn't matter who you are when you're out on the street. no one has that extra respect for you, even if you're a very advanced soul, because it's the humility that will carry you through on the street. It's you can't use your position to carry yourself through. It's something else that's going to help you out there.
Yeah, we were out the other week in Edinburgh, and one boy was singing, and the people who were going past, you could see they were really impressed. They were impressed that this person was so effulgent. He was so fearless, just singing and in his robes, and you could see it was having such an impact on them. What to speak if we were having Harinam, Rathayatra? It's such a powerful. This is all Mahapunya. The people go past, and they get this impression. Generally, the reason why devotees joined ISKCON is because they saw Harinam, and that was it. That sealed the deal. Okay, that's it. I want that. You know, there was usually the Harinam. So when people see devotees singing the holy name and doing it with taste, then they get a human birth in the next life just from their appreciation. That's Mahapunya. Everyone walking past, another one gets human. No, you're not going to be a dog now. Human for you. Should have been a gorilla. Human for you. Should have been a slug. Should have been a slug for you, pal. Human for you. Human, human, human. Mahapunya. If they take a book and apply it, Swasti Aina, they start an auspicious journey. Swasti is auspicious. Aina is like Ramayan. You go on an auspicious journey. And then Shubham, maybe it'll take some lifetimes, but Shubham is you're going back to that lifetime. You're going, and not just back to Vaikuntha, you're going to Goloka. Shubham. So, first stage Mahapunya, then Swasti Aina, maybe not this lifetime, and then finally, maybe 3 or 4 lifetimes, Shubham.
Even now I get very inspired, like when I watch Harinam, like on Facebook or whatever. Like just the other day, I watched the Shinga Day Appearance Day Harinam in London, and it was cold, it was raining, Oxford Street. People are walking down, everyone looks really miserable, and then the devotees are just like in ecstasy, singing and chanting, and just watching that, I'm like, wow. Even today, you know, I watch it, I'm like, it's so inspiring. I'm like, wow, look at that difference. It's so noticeable. You know, even as a devotee, what to speak of a non-devotee seeing that, just like these people are so blissful.
It's such a powerful preaching because people want to be happy. That's why they follow film stars and powerful people and wealthy people. They want to be like that person. They're thinking, well, they've actually cracked it, you know. But all these people, they're bluffing or they're intoxicated, but they're not actually happy because they don't know where they're going at the time of death. So they're just kidding themselves on. It's like being happy going down a road backwards in a car that's headed towards a wall, you know. It's just so daft because you may be happy right now, but that's just because you don't see where you're going. It's all false, you know. Whereas the devotees are like, hey, ball. It's like, finally, after lifetimes and lifetimes, I've finally found it. Wow, Hari ball. And then people are like they were trying to vibe us out in we were on Harinam and we were at the top of Buchanan Street where it turns round to Sarkior Street. So there was 3 or 4 of these people. I'm not sure whether they were religious persuasion, but they were like, and they would kind of vibe us out so that we would be like, you know, but everybody was just more blissful. The more they were like that, the more blissful we were getting, you know. We were just like, hey, come on, dance, you know. And then eventually they just melted. They just kind of, or whatever it is, it must be real. There's something genuine about this, you know. But they were trying to put up some, and I was thinking, that's amazing that the Harinam is so powerful that when you're in it, you feel this bubble of protection and you can't be intimidated or affected by the people's association, you know. People sneering at you or trying to make you look like you're making a fool of yourself, you know. Yeah. And we're laughing because we can see that they're making a fool of themselves because they don't even know what to wear. They don't even know what the proper clothes are, the proper food, the proper hairstyle. They don't know anything about anything. And they're trying to vibe us out that we're crazy, you know. We're following a culture. Is there any culture left? Is there anything really left in the West in terms of culture now? Maybe a tiny bit of respect left, and even that's very fastly diminishing, isn't it? The whole thing about culture is it's based upon respect. If you take away respect on the plea of being, forward thinking, then you're actually just taking everyone further back. Judge your culture by how much respect is there. Respect for the living entities, respect for the land, respect for facility, respect for one another. The more that's there, the more the culture is there. ISKCON Guru Vrinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Gaur Premanandi Haribol. All of you Ki.